that I know many fat people who gain solace by reading books on reducing. I know one fat guy who has a truly a 5-foot shelf, and it is growing as well as waistline, but it is growing every week. And every reducing book that comes out, he reads it like other guys read mysteries. And he sits and chuckles over a particularly well-done calorie chart. He will chuckle over a well-turned phrase about desserts, and all the while he's shoveling in the triple malted milks while he's reading. Well, now, what is the point here? What is the problem here? Well, it is a problem of reality versus ambition, ideal, and the dream. Many moralists are like this. Many a moralist is tremendously angry about what society is doing. And all the while, this clown is knocking down on his income tax. He's stealing stamps out of the drawer. He's got 4 or 5 things going in apartments up on the Upper East Side. But he will, of course, rationalize that away. That is not, he won't even rationalize. He usually just cuts his life into 2 separate areas. And it splits it right down the middle. And yet this has been a common problem among moralists for a long time. And many people are confused by this because most people's lives, in general, are lived pretty much by a single standard. That is the thing that surprises many a writer whose life generally is a double standard life. By the very nature of writing, this almost is a foregone problem, foregone conclusion. So often a writer is scared and surprised to find that the truck driver who says, well, if I met one of them guys, I'd hit him, that 10 minutes later he meets one and hits him. This is very confusing to him because he lives the way he talks he lives. And he does not have the subtlety nor the sophistication to speak one way and live another. That's why the Indian used to refer to the white man as he speaketh with forked tongue, referring to that propensity of the super-civilized man. Many a really strong liberal is a fanatic about paying his help. He's just rotten. I know many a liberal who just, he's so wild about liberal causes that it takes up all his time. He forgets to pay the people who work for him. And I'll never forget one little incident that occurred to me. A guy I know who was not only a big liberal, but he was nationally known as this. He was a giant liberal. I happened to work one time for this guy, and he walked in one afternoon, got the entire staff together, and says, look, I'm going to make one statement here. If any of you guys even think of bringing a union in here, I'll bust you, and you'll never work in the business again. He was a top union man. Turned on his heel and walked out. Well, I was young and innocent in those days, and I assumed that the man literally lived the way he talks. You'll find generally it's quite the opposite. And the more incoherent a man is, the more often he will live the way he is. He doesn't know that there is a way, a surrogate that you can produce. So you wonder about people who believe the dream, who really do believe it, and who assume that it's so simple and so easy. Dean Rusk, I heard Rusk speak one time. In fact, I saw Dean Rusk on a television show, and Rusk was discussing that problem in a sort of a tangential way, and he was saying that Americans have a belief that it really is strong in them, that we not only can control history, but somehow history is a thing which we have created, and that we can stay on top of it all the way down the line, that there's no such thing as history that exists outside of the controllable areas that we ourselves as Americans can participate in. And for that reason, you'll see that whenever anything happens anywhere in the world, immediately 45 guys will jump up and holler, "Who sold out Yugoslavia?" Well, nobody sold out, Why didn't we do something about Slovovia? Well, could it be that Slovovia has a mind of its own? We won't concede any of these things. We will not. We just will not. Many guys won't. Many guys will not concede that China might have entirely a mind of its own, and it may be totally against our mind. Somebody sold it out. Somebody sold them a bill of goods. And I'm not, believe me, condoning China. But the belief that we have always in American politics is the belief, and it underlies so many of the chief complaints that we have against both liberals and conservatives do this, is the myth of controlling history. I suspect this is because among all the world's peoples, history has not occurred much to Americans. We have been involved in very little history. But if you come from a country that, let's say Lebanon, where there's been 75 crusades running both directions through your country, and the machine guns come from both sides, and generally by the same guys with different suits on, in the end, after 2,000 years of this, you have no illusions about history, none whatsoever. It would be very hard to convince a Frenchman, believe me, that history is controllable. He has seen a lot of track meets going through his backyard, and one minute, it's funny, you have mortar emplacements under your front porch every couple of years. You begin to have an attitude towards history which could be a little more realistic than the attitude which most Americans have. We've been able to control. So again, I suppose we confuse destiny with history. There are, again, two different problems. Sure, a nation can say to itself, well, I'm going to be a democracy and I'm going to make money. That's fine. But that does not necessarily mean that they can control Yugoslavia or Upper Slobovia. Very difficult, very difficult. And yet, you're going to find many a political speech based on that one premise, that the entire world is our oyster, and if we don't control it, it's because somebody is lousing up. Somebody is selling out. Somebody is not putting the money where it should go. Somebody is, and so on and on and on and on, ad infinitum. Ad nauseum is perhaps the best word.